Is the supply of gold elastic? Will additional mines open if the price continues to rise? They will go get it if the price reaches a point where it's good to do so rather than bad. If the metals market were to collapse, what would trigger the closure of your store? The gold and silver you need can be purchased online at SD Bullion. Visit sdbullion.com/new to purchase gold or silver instantly. The last video we did had some questions submitted, and I have a few of them, Harry. All right. Before we get to the questions, silver dragons. We have a very dedicated viewer from Florida named Joe who sent one of the silverbacks. Yeah, I see. Not to mention that he was after our autographs, which naturally included yours. How about we chat? Am I to sign it? He asks. Please, would you? After that, I will return this to him via mail. Look at that. Of all the signatures, mine is arguably the worst, but it's there nonetheless. There is no more crucial one than that. He desired that. The silver dragons have my gratitude. Today, we will send this to Joe via regular mail. All right? Here are the questions, Harry. The first one claims that I am an Austrian citizen and that silver bars and coins are subject to a 20% value-added tax in my home country. What is the going rate in the US? Does the tax treatment of new versus used silver coins/bars vary in any way? The taxation of bullion, in many cases, is a matter for the individual states to decide. Similar to the European Union, there is no VAT. Nevertheless, bullion will be subject to sales tax in certain states, one of which is Washington, which will be right above us in a short while. Bullion, like all other goods, is exempt from Oregon's sales tax. To avoid paying that tax threshold, you must meet California's minimum requirements. Accordingly, the situation differs from one state to another. The good news is that bullion is exempt from the country's VAT. Furthermore, the old and the new are essentially interchangeable. Adrian, I have one more question for you. In light of the current market trend, I was wondering if it would be worthwhile to trade slab-graded coins for silver and gold. I would retain the uncommon/rare side in my collection. Yeah. In other words, if you're considering downsizing, have a lot of stuff that you don't need, or are just getting to that stage in your life where you need to pare down, then this is the book for you. It is easier to dispose of silver and gold than numismatics, so some people have been selling them to us. After you've had your fill of collecting and no longer find joy in the coins, it's a good idea to transfer them to a trust so that your loved ones can rest easy knowing what to do with them. Conversely, if you have some collectibles that you still enjoy but have a lot of what I call fluff, i.e., anything you aren't particularly attached to but would like to transform into silver or gold, then by all means go for it. At times, it moves more than collectibles. All right, on to the next question. What would you advise someone who brought in a bag of Mercury dimes to trade for silver but didn't realize one of them had a 1916 D on it? My advice would be to congratulate them. They've found a true gem. This is probably a follow-up question. Even if you had all the coins, would you still sort them? I mean, how does one go about counting up, say, $100 in face value? That kind of thing? The answer is conditional. The kind of collection that arrives usually gives us a clue as to whether it's worth looking at. For example, when someone presents a collection, they might claim that it belonged to their father and that he has all the albums, filling in every gap except for the rare one. I know that Dad has already looked through those dimes for something to put in the spaces. Therefore, in that case, I would probably not pay attention to every single detail. However, in the event that someone asserts, my father didn't collect. He simply believed silver was a good investment in the mid-60s and I have a coffee can full of it. Then we will investigate this claim. Therefore, in order to determine whether the stuff has been searched or not, you really have to rely on your judgment based on what is given to you. However, I believe the question is trying to say that would we, as coin dealers, inform anyone if we found a treasure? And without a doubt, yes. The number of times we've gotten world coins is beyond my comprehension. As we go through it, we occasionally notice that it contains gold, which comes in the poundage. Plus, they'll politely decline. And a pleasant surprise it is every time. To be honest, finding something like that is a lot of fun to tell someone. It would be considered theft not to inform the customer. Plus, I don't want that weight of guilt hanging over me. If I ever wanted to sell all of my coins, I would feel completely at ease doing it here. I'm not making any immediate plans to, but I might in the future. On to the next question. In response to daily market changes, how frequently do coin shops adjust their buy/sell prices? First thing in the morning, I check the price and, if needed, make a change. This morning, I'm considering going all in on silver. I did 2 adjustments last Thursday, one in the morning and one in the middle of the day. As an example, silver is currently selling for 56 cents. If the market stabilizes within a certain range, say 20 or 30 cents either way, I may decide to sit this one out. However, I am fully capable of adjusting those premiums throughout the day if I see fit, particularly in a market where prices are changing so quickly. If you could change 3 things about yourself in a single day, what would it be? No. Not twice, not even once. Honestly, I'm not sure. I understand. Yeah. We do our best to maintain fairly consistent buy prices all day long, and we do get a lot of customers who drive in from the coast and Southern Oregon. Because then no one can pull up and say, "Hey, look at this price." It makes things a little more steady for our clients. In addition to letting them know what to anticipate, it also helps keep us on the same page for everyone. All right? My best guess is that there are 90 ounces of silver and 1,000 mercury dimes up next. The conventional wisdom in the coin industry holds that there are 0.715 troy ounces of circulated coins for every dollar. So, 71.5 ounces would be the face value of $100, which is 1,000 dimes. Thus, it's around 90, close to zero. Is the supply of gold elastic? Will additional mines open if the price continues to rise? I guess so. Similar to how, when oil prices dropped below $30 per barrel again a few years ago, many felt it wasn't worth it to extract the resource. This is also true for gold and all other minerals. Once the price reaches a certain point, it's no longer a loss. However, they will still go ahead and get it. Yeah, and I imagine that many mines are similar. They have identified potential extraction zones, but they are holding off until it becomes financially viable. However, that is all. If it didn't make sense, you wouldn't milk the cow either. It is accurate. All right, Adrian, we'll be sure to ask you this one next. Outside of the United States, where can I get the best price on gold and silver? Typically, nations that have an abundance of the mineral silver has historically been well priced in Mexico. I mean, South Africa is a gold mine, but there's also a lot of silver mining in Central America and, well, Australia. Yeah. Canada came to mind because of all the mining that takes place there. Yeah. Mining is a common activity in that area. In my opinion, it would be America. I understand. The one after this is fascinating. In order to shut down your business, what would the metals market have to happen? We are available, you know. What the market does is irrelevant, The buying and selling never stops for us. Here, we create a market. Therefore, I do not believe that we would ever simply shut down owing to market conditions. If you recall, there was that one strange day when oil went negative. I don't know what the situation would be, but would you still be open if that happened with silver or gold? We would be making a huge purchase if gold turned negative. Oh, definitely. We could take it all for them and get paid. Yeah. Nothing, however, could really occur. Frankly, I suppose we could call it quits if people simply ceased purchasing and selling. So here's the deal. We're complex in many ways. We deal in collectibles in addition to silver and gold. Watches and diamonds are our specialties. Therefore, numismatics is unaffected by the proliferation of buckets containing collectible coins. In other words, we like to keep our focus broad, even though bullying is a major part of our business. All right, the one that follows is, perhaps, more philosophical in nature. How does one go about collecting silver and gold, as opposed to just stacking it? The intrinsic value of gold or silver isn't the only thing that matters to collectors. The date, condition, mint mark, and even variety can make a difference. For example, an ounce of bullion from each country that released a coin could be desired. Consequently, it's more than just stacking, as you have to be picky about what you put in your collection. While collecting may be more familiar to some, stacking may be a whole new world to others. The term stacking was completely foreign to me a decade ago. Oh, is that so? No, I was unaware of that. All right. Just 2 more questions. This one. Would a capsule be more secure for storing coins than a plastic sleeve? The point being that it's subjective and dependent on your goals. Obviously, anything that is gold is softer. Place it in a more sturdy container, I could advise. My recommendation would be a pill. Flips are great no matter what. But if you're aiming to keep silver from tarnishing, a capsule is another great option. Actually, I would recommend using the flips if you're more concerned about protecting the item from scratches than tarnish. If you'd rather not have your silver tone, you can use the harder capsules, which are airtight, instead of the 2x2s like these. The flips are less expensive than the capsules, though. Oh, without a doubt. Yeah. Once again, your goals will determine the answer. When it comes to bullion, we handle the purchase and sale of it in the same manner. Finally, Harry, I have a question for you. What are the best and worst security features of 1-ounce government coins? When I heard about the Britannia's amenities, I was astounded. The present Britannias have rays in the fields and privy marks. I don't know what amazed them. Therefore, they are reasonably safe. Before 2021, there weren't really any features to help protect US silver eagles, or, to be honest, gold eagles, from counterfeiters, so I think their security was lacking. The Canadian maples, in my opinion, are the most developed. Thin, delicate rays were used to improve the field, which made it extremely difficult to forge. Additionally, they began including the year and a maple leaf on that diminutive privy mark. My guess is that we were near the bottom before 2021, while Canada was way up there for a while. You can look for all these security features on bullion and coins, but if you're buying it from Joe, whom you just met on Facebook Marketplace, you gotta be careful. Another thing to keep in mind is that checking the features on the coins and bullion isn't the most important thing. What's more important is finding a good, reputable dealer to buy it from. Because even some of the features are replicated, you need the right equipment. If something isn't right with your purchase, you'll have someone to turn to if you buy from a trustworthy dealer, whether that's us or someone you find online. I see your point. All right? Okay, I'm really grateful. Metallic dragons. Adrian, I am very grateful. Much obliged. All right? On to the next question. Actually, I'm the one who will be getting this. I attempted to purchase some during my previous visit, but alas, I was unable to locate any updock. There must be something I'm missing here. My goodness, it was unsuccessful. Good effort. Good effort. Adrian was aware of my intentions. Excuse me, doctor, but he was attempting to get you to say something. I see.